Hey, what's up guys? NullRage here, and today we're taking a look at the quality of life improvements for Ghost Rider. Now, I'm not exactly sure how big the quality of life has been for this character, so I'm just going to run through it like it's sort of a brand new character and look at each power individually the same way that I would in one of my skill previews or the 52 review. I think that's the best way to go through this. The first thing we've got is his synergy, and I don't believe it has changed. I think it's 2% mental damage, 2% mental crit at both 25 and 50, totaling to 4% mental crit. Very useful passive, very similar to what do you call them? Moon Knight and Star Lord, I think, for physical and energy. And if you're doing a mental hero, then you're definitely going to want that synergy. All right, let's move here to the change tree. Got most of those on the bar. The first thing I've noticed is this Vengeance over here now has specializations that you can choose. But let's go through Chain Thrash, Physical Damage, and Regenerate. Uh, Regenerate when you hit targets affected by Hellfire. Hellfire is one of the effects that's set on by his fire skills over here from the Hellfire tree. And it looks like every skill that's tagged as Hellfire that applies Hellfire rather, is now in the Hellfire tree. I know Protect the Innocent seems to have moved over here. And anyway, let's have a look at this skill. There's Chain Thrash, just your basic attack, and it will regen health when it hits a target affected by Hellfire from one of these skills, Inferno, Flay, or Damnation. Alright, next we've got Chain Stare. It's going to apply physical damage and immobilize. I believe this is pretty much the same as it used to work. Yep. Pretty much the same skill. An amazing skill, by the way. What team up do I have? Tell them to go away. Tell them go away. Set active. There we go. Coulson won't bother me. He'll just hang out and watch. Alright, next we've got Condemn. Physical damage pulls enemies towards you. If these were enemies that could be pulled, they would be pulled right up to my face, so I could smack them with Chain Thrash if I wanted to. Alright, I don't believe that has changed at all since its initial iteration. I think the, ooh. Okay, so the biggest thing here that I see is Chain Snare applies Hellfire. And that is something it didn't do before, but in addition to the dot it does, the physical damage over time, it also applies one stack of Hellfire on hit, causing 2 burning effects for this one skill. That is a huge quality of life improvement. I kind of skipped over that on Chain Snare, but that's very nice, because you can use that to work in with your Hellfire skills, and if you wanted to do a full chain build, you actually don't have to come over here to the Hellfire tree. You can just use Chain Snare to apply both that physical damage dot and that mental dot, letting you do your hybrid character just off of this one skill. Really, that's huge. That's pretty nice. All right, Chain Lash. We've got physical damage and 40% increased damage against Hellfire inflicted enemies. This is going to be sort of your single target spirit spender. Yep. I like that. I'm not sure how long ago it was, but this used to be a basic ability. Basically, you could choose either Chain Thrash, which is a close melee ability, or you could choose Chain Lash, which I think was called something different, and it was sort of a ranged basic ability. But now this is your single target spirit spender of choice for any chain-based build, I'd say. And I like that a lot. This was always a fun skill to use, mainly because it was sort of the core skill that you fell back on after all of your cooldowns were spent. Alright, we've got Whirling Chain, physical damage per hit, attack speed, yeah, about the same as it always was, I'd say. You can't move while doing this, though. That is one thing. You kind of just sit there and spin. But the amount of damage it does seems to have increased, because I think it's hitting 4 times per second or something like that. Yeah. Well, it does damage per hit, and then it attacks 4 times per second. So, which of course will increase with attack speed on gear and things like that. That's pretty nice little AOE thing there. I think I prefer using like AoE cooldown abilities and then just using Chain Lash though. But I've heard a lot of people talk about Whirling Chain saying it's really good. Alright, now this used to be sort of my old the skill that you used because it like reset its cooldown when it hit a target with Hellfire. I think that's been taken away and now it just does physical damage. It's a skill you work into your rotation. This power always deals a brutal strike, so it's always going to hit really hard. It's got an 8-second cooldown, huge burst damage output. I don't know if the cooldown can still be reset the same way it was. Probably not, because you're going to be using Chain Lash as your main left click, and then you're just using Judgment for huge burst damage, because it's always going to brutal strike, which means it's always going to do just a massive amount of damage. Very nice. Alright, Chain Fletchet, or Flet... I don't know. Fletchet, I don't know. I think it's Fletchet. Physical damage and physical damage rating for 8 seconds, so you're going to want to use this every 8 seconds right before you use Judgment, because you will want that physical damage boost before using Judgment. And then you're going to gain damage rating and stun the target. Let's have a look here. Wait, did that... Yeah, that was the skill. I just used it in the wrong direction. Let's do this. Alright. Oh wow, that hits like everything in front of you. That's amazing. Alright, so if I do this, that would sort of be my opening combo right there. And then I'd go into Chain Lash. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Boom. Chain build's looking pretty fun after this quality of life. Alright, next up we've got Hellfire, which is the Inferno-based ranged basic power. It's going to apply that mental dot, and I believe this... Yeah. This power, I think, is still what the damage from effects like Chain Snare scales off of. Let's see if we can test it. If I put points into here... Oh, the dot does not actually increase with points put into the skill. So that's a huge quality of life improvement. You do not need to pump this skill to increase the Hellfire damage that other skills do, like Chain Snare. If I was doing a chain build, I would not need to max out Hellfire to get maximum damage from my chain build. That's nice. Pretty good quality of life thing there. Inferno... see. Oh, right. I didn't use this skill. Is this different looking? I feel like this is different looking. There used to be, oh, I know what it was. There was the Flaming Skull, which seems to have been taken away. You don't actually have it anymore. Okay. Inferno is next up. It's going to do mental damage and apply vulnerability. Even in my chain build, I used to use this, but now I don't have to because Chain Snare will apply that Hellfire effect. So that's pretty cool. I won't have to use Inferno unless I want to. I might want to use it to apply another stack of Hellfire because that Hellfire can stack up to 3 times. There you go. And you can maintain 3 of these at a time. I think you could do that before. The animation was always a little bit long for my taste, though, when I used to play this character. And next we've got Hellfire Beam. This is a new skill. It's going to deal mental damage and deal 20% additional damage per stack of Hellfire. So let's say we used... I'm going to move some of these around. And yeah, there we go. Now I can apply... I can just hit 3 times with this skill, actually. And then we're going to do extra damage with Hellfire Beam here. So if you were doing things like applying your dots, and then you hit with Hellfire Beam, that's really cool. I like that skill. It's very similar to Chain Lash. It's not going to quite hit the same area that Chain Lash does, because it's not an area power, but for single target spirit spinning, it will total up to a 60% damage increase onto that base damage. Could be really nice for those that want to play a Hellfire build. Alright, Flay is the next skill here. We've got Crack your chains against the ground, causing a fiery shockwave and knock down enemies. It's going to deal some mental damage. It's going to do a knockdown. It's going to do 50% additional damage per stack of Hellfire on the target. Okay, cool. So if we stack this... Oh, I actually pulled it off the bar. There we go. Alright, stack this up. There we go. We got the 3 stacks of Hellfire. And then we can do huge damage against that target. Again, if we were applying Hellfire to our group with these 2 skills, then we do increased damage to that entire group. Does that really hit the entire area that it seems like it does? Let me go over here. I hit this bat guy. I didn't hit these 2 though, because that wave sort of flies off and seems like it would hit a much larger area than what it does. Yeah, it's only the chains really that do damage. The rest of it's just kind of visual. So a little bit confusing visually, because you'd think these flames that fly off almost off the screen would do damage too, but it doesn't seem like they do. Alright, next we've got Penance Stare, mental damage twice per second, 4 times per second, sorry. Has that execute mechanic, giving it 3% increased damage per 1% of the target's health. I think that's actually more than the normal execute value as well. I think that's 3 times as much as the normal execute value, which makes this a very powerful ability. And it has a max channel time of 1.3% or 1.3 seconds, unaffected by power duration. I bet though that no, it only says percent damage increases for points put into Hell on Wheels. I'm not sure if that would... I don't think the channel time will increase with points put into your ultimate. I'm not sure though. It terrifies for 2 seconds, unaffected by power duration. Let's see, Penance Stare. It fears everything around you though. This is always a very fun, very powerful ultimate to use. Or signature, I should say. Oh! Here's a massive change. I believe this is a change. Is the cooldown. The cooldown used to be something like 40 seconds at least. Now it's 20. Another thing is you do not have to hold the button down to channel it. So you just press it once and it pops that huge damage 4 times per second. So it's going to hit maybe 5-6 times, somewhere around there. Because it does that 4 times for the first second, and then you've got 0.3 seconds max channel time. I'm not sure exactly how many hits that's going to be. Probably 1 or 2. So that's pretty nice. And next we've got Damnation here, which means breathe fire on everybody. Mental damage twice per second. The damage increases with attack speed. There we go. Very fun skill. I never really used it too much. It does apply Hellfire to everything it hits, allowing you to, like, say you're surrounded by enemies or something like that, just there, Hellfire on everybody. And that could be really nice. It actually skipped over a few of them. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, a very, very nice skill. Again, I don't really lean towards the Hellfire tree, but for those that want to do the Hellfire tree, the mental damage, that could be a very useful skill. Alright, finally we get over here to the Vengeance tree, where we've got the Spirit of Vengeance and its associated specialization. Passive effect will cause you to regenerate health and spirit when you are defeated. That cooldown, 10-minute cooldown on that. Also increases your critical rating and your damage rating, and restores 3 spirit when you hit an enemy affected by Hellfire. That passive used to, now I'm not sure if it will in the new iteration of Ghost Rider, but it used to be enough, that spirit restore right there, that as long as you were hitting targets that had Hellfire on them, you didn't really have to worry about any other spirit regen mechanics. If I look at my... No, Coulson, thanks for showing up for the moral support, but I just wanted to see my gear. Alright, looking at my gear, yeah, I did not have any spirit management artifacts or anything like that. I think he's got an item here that, yeah, there it is. Recovers spirit on hit if you have one of his uniques. Coupled with this Spirit of Vengeance passive, takes care of all of his spirit issues. So Spirit of Vengeance, very strong thing. Probably something you're going to want to max out for the damage, the crit hit rating. Yeah, you want this 20 points in pretty much every build, because it also gives you that Spirit Restore based on the number of points. Now we've got the specializations to choose. And this allows you to do a number of things, and will probably change the way you play, sort of. You got Chains Ablaze, which when you activate Spirit of Vengeance will... Let's see. Oh, okay. Alright, we'll spec into it, and it changes Spirit of Vengeance to increase damage of chain powers by 10% flat at all times. But then also changes the active effect on Spirit of Vengeance to increase the power of your chain powers by even more. And then chain powers apply a stack of Hellfire on hit whenever you activate Spirit of Vengeance. That's really good, because that makes all of your chain powers do that dot. And it has an 8-second duration on that, and then a 20-second cooldown. Now, you've got Chain Snare already applying 1 stack. When you activate this, you can stack that all the way up to the maximum of 3 stacks of Hellfire, which, for the purpose of the chain tree, does not actually increase your damage output from the core of your kit. It only increases the amount of damage done by the Hellfire effect itself. But still, that's a pretty nice damage boost. And then also, this effect will increase your chain powers when you activate it too. So that's pretty nice. It looks like the specialization effects do not increase with points put into the skill. Only the base effects of Spirit of Vengeance increase. Alright, next we've got Hell's Angel. If you wanted to do the Hellfire build, then you're going to do extra damage with mental powers. You're going to gain some damage reduction. And then Spirit of Vengeance active effect causes all enemies affected by Hellfire to instantly combust. Doing Hellfire combustion, mental damage. Does that affect only them, or is it an explosion? It probably affects only them. Deal 100% additional damage per stack of Hellfire. Alright, let's go over here and try this. First things first is this. The active effect on this needs to be pretty powerful, because it does not have that extra 10% increase like the chains tree does. Alright, there we go. We got that on the bar. We got Spirit of Vengeance here. So if I throw out all this stuff, so I got 3 stacks of Hellfire on a bunch of people, and then pop Spirit of Vengeance. Oh wow, they all sort of explode there. I can't tell if that's. Let's see if we can just stack this character and see if it hits these when I hit Spirit of Vengeance or not. Alright, so this guy's got 3 stacks of Hellfire on him. Yeah, and it only hits him. It did explode outward, though. Let's try this guy. I'm going to spend way too much time on this one skill again. I always do this. I spend way too much time focusing on one skill that most of you probably don't even care about. But let's find out. Alright, so we got 3 stacks here. And we're going to pop Spirit of Vengeance. Yeah, it still only hits him. So I guess each target with Hellfire on them will do that combustion. It's actually very similar to the Fire Mage in World of Warcraft, how they combust their fire effects. I wonder if there was any inspiration drawn from that when they were doing the active effect for Hell's Angel. That's pretty cool. I like that. Next we've got the Infernal Contract. Now this is going to be a throwback to a playstyle that sort of... It was a part of Ghost Rider, but I don't think many people used it too much. And that is the Infernal Contract, which damage is increased when you are below 50% health. Also, you ignore 30% of incoming damage while below 50% health. So the idea is to stay below 50% health at all times. And now we've got Spirit of Vengeance active effect. Health is reduced to and cannot regenerate beyond 50% of its maximum. You also gain critical and brutal chance and critical and brutal damage. This might be kind of strange. Let me put my health bar back on. I turned it off for a previous video, but let me show. Yeah. There we go. Alright, so now we got my health bar back on. Let's go fight this guy. Ow! Ow! So we've got a lot of regen in this guy's kit, just normally. So when I'm below 50%, I have that increased damage. I don't see any visual indicator for this, though. Alright. Now, when I activate... Ow, he's gonna kill me if I... He's got a lot of regen going on. I don't know how I've got that much regen. But anyway, I would take less damage and I'd just passively gain more damage when I'm below 50%. And then, when I pop this active effect... I said, when I pop this active effect... Health is reduced and cannot regenerate beyond 50% of its maximum. So this may not quite be done yet, but theoretically, when I pop this active effect, I would be reduced to 50% HP, and then couldn't regenerate beyond that point. So I'd be in a very risk-induced state. You know, I might get one shot, maybe. I'd be reducing the damage. I'd get both of those effects from above, that 20%, 25% increased damage, and 30% less damage taken. And I'd also get increased critical and brutal chance and increased critical and brutal damage. So theoretically, it's sort of a risk versus reward kind of playstyle. See, so I'd be sitting here, not taking a whole lot of damage actually. So while I'm below, you'd want to stay below 50% at pretty much all times, and anytime that you weren't below 50%, you'd want to pop the that skill so that you would come back down below 50%. Again, this does not seem to be fully implemented yet, but that could be an interesting style of play for Infernal Contract, having that risk versus reward playstyle. Alright, let's move on to the rest of the skills in the Vengeance tree. We've got Infernal Wheelie, we've got Burn the Treads, we've got Ride, Protect the Innocent, and Hell from Above. Now, Protect the Innocent, I believe, is... yeah, it's just your CC breaker with some defense passives. This is what's giving me all that regen. Alright, but I'll put it on the bar anyway. First thing is Infernal Wheelie. It's going to apply 1 stack of Hellfire and hit, do some physical damage as it passes through. It's, you know, your basic dodge. This is always a very useful dodge skill, or dash skill, I should say. And now that it applies Hellfire and hit, I'm not sure if it did that before, but that makes stacking that Hellfire a lot easier. Can it apply multiple stacks? That's the question. Yeah, it looks like it can. That is definitely more than 1 stack of Hellfire going on right there. So this can apply multiple stacks by just dashing through an enemy with Infernal Wheelie. Very cool. Burn the Treads applies 2 stacks of Hellfire on hit. Is it still a charge up power? Mental damage and the mental damage on the ground? Alright, let's see. Looks like it's... yeah, it's still a charge up power. You can sit here and channel it forever. Does it gain damage based on how long it's channeled? No. It does it no longer gains damage based on how long it's channeled, but it's still a channel ability. That's a little bit weird, but maybe I think they may be phasing out the whole gain damage based on how long you channel the ability. So you can just pop this off real quick, and it does the same amount of damage as if you had held it and sent it through, it seems. But the ability to hold it does allow you to target it better. Say you press the button when your mouse was over here, but you wanted to hit this guy, or he suddenly moved, you can still do that by just holding the button down and then moving your mouse around. Alright, next we've got Ride. It's going to do travel speed and mental damage is all that's on the tooltip. Same as it always was, it seems. Now, one thing to note about that trail of fire that I'm leaving is that is not a Hellfire effect, and it does not apply a Hellfire effect. It is completely leaving a trail of Hellfire in your wake. That could be a Hellfire effect. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm not sure if that counts as a Hellfire effect for the purpose of skills like Hellfire Beam, which gain additional damage per stack of Hellfire. I know it's applied to the ground, not the targets that it hits. Like that stack of Hellfire, you can see that burning on the target. The damage is applied to that target specifically. This stack of what is called Hellfire in the skill tree is Hellfire applied to the ground. So I'm not sure if it increases the damage that Hellfire Beam would do, or Flay, or something like that. Let's see. Next we've got Protect the Innocent. It's your CC breaker actively. The active effect on it is just your basic CC breaker. Boom. It's got a very cool animation though. I love that animation. A lot better than your typical CC breaker animation. It also terrifies anybody in the area. That's another thing about Protect the Innocent, is in addition to breaking CCs on you, it CCs everyone around you. A great skill. Passively, it's going to give you the defense and total defense, deflect, total deflect, and your max health, also your regeneration. This, depending on your gear, depending on the content you're doing, this may only be a one-pointer, because he has a lot of regen just innately, it seems. It also applies Constitution, so you've got all of that regen. You've got even more regen. You've got that 210%, or not 210%, 210 health per second at all times, in addition to the amount that scales with the skill. So you've got a pretty hefty amount of regen just with 1 point in the skill. So I'm not sure if you need more points, but it depends on the type of content you're doing, I guess. Finally, we've got Hell from Above, physical damage, and then a cooldown is reduced when you hit with a Vengeance power. This applies 3 stacks of Hellfire on hit, and it hits everything in a massive area. You want to use that skill every time it's off cooldown. You want to reduce the cooldown of it with, let me set up my skills correctly. Alright, so we're doing Hellfire here. We're doing Burn the Treads there. We're doing Wheelie right here. So this is a build that you could actually do. It's just dashing through people with Wheelie, doing this. Every time you dash through somebody with Wheelie, you reduce the cooldown on Hell from Above. You need a lot of spirit management to be able to do that, but you'd be applying 3 stacks of Hellfire to every target hit in a massive area. You'd be doing a lot of damage with the skill itself. Hell from Above is a DPS cooldown or burst damage ability that you work into your rotation, similar to Flay or Judgment and Chain Fletch it over here. This is going to be a skill that you probably want at least 1 point in for both a Chains or a Hellfire build, and especially a Vengeance based build, because it does apply that 3 stacks of Hellfire, which is his core mechanic. Alright, finally we've got Hell on Wheels. It's going to be his ultimate. I don't know if they changed it at all. Let's see. Physical damage. It's got an active duration, 15 seconds. Move speeds increased by 25%. You're invulnerable for the power's duration. Still summons pillars. Power Synergy applies 1 stack of Hellfire on hit, applies 1 stack of Hellfire per tick. Okay, so I guess when the pillars do damage, they apply a Hellfire when you hit with your chain, you apply Hellfire. So pretty much every target has Hellfire on them at all times. There's that. They've made it... Oh, wow. This is so much easier to steer. Oh, my God. Like, look at... With the lean, going back and forth with the bike. This is amazing. That alone right there is a massive quality of life improvement for Ghost Rider, whereas before his ultimate was something that was clunky, to be completely honest. It was just hard to use because you'd end up, you'd hit it and then you were it felt like you were trapped. Yeah, you were taking less damage, yeah, you were doing damage to everybody all over the place, but you were stuck on this bike and you couldn't use the rest of your skills, and you're still stuck on this bike and you can't use the rest of your skills. However, being stuck on that bike is controllable. You have a lot more control over where you go. You're going to do decent damage. You want to be stuck on that bike now, whereas before it just felt like a trap. Alright, so that is Ghost Rider, the quality of life changes for him. I know I spent a bit longer on this video than what was probably needed for just some basic quality of life changes, but I wanted to fully get in and go in depth with every skill, and I'm looking forward to playing this character. He was a lot of fun to play back in the day. In fact, I've got some pretty decent gear for him. Not amazing, but still decent, and I'd like to go... He used to be my go-to raiding character. I'd always take him to raids. So I'm looking forward to trying him out again after this quality of life improvement goes in. Alright guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one. Until then, take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.